early childhood development. Each week we talk about a different stage of children development and what children need. And now, here comes your host.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Parent Thing. I am so excited to be recording my very first content episode. I released my trailer, my introduction yesterday for you to know what my podcast is all about and a little bit more about me. And today's episode is titled, Oh Baby. So today is all about newborn babies, all things newborn babies, and it's going to be a very enlightening and exciting episode. So, you did the pregnancy thing, you birthed the baby, now what? Now, you have to go home and keep this baby alive. Small task, right? So today we will be talking all things newborn, from the first bath, sleeping patterns, and everything in between. Bringing your baby home is such an exciting thing. I actually just got home from grocery shopping, and my neighbor just had a baby boy, and she was sitting outside with the baby. And just watching this mommy with her baby and seeing the love in her eyes and just this doting look, it's so super special, so special. And that's why I wanted to start off with this first period of having your baby in your home. Your whole world changes. This whole new routine, this whole new normal starts the day you bring your baby home. Absolutely everything changes. Your whole world revolves around the teeniest, tiniest human, and it's so exciting. So we all know that newborn baby is all about the eat, the poop, and the sleep, which is true. And when I say the sleep, I don't include you in that. Your sleep days, you wave bye-bye. There are so many topics that I want to cover in this phase, in this stage, at this age. And I'm going to start with bath time. When you bring your baby home, you have to keep your baby clean. Coming home for the first time, baby still has his or her umbilical cord attached. So bathing them is a little bit trickier than when they don't have the cord attached. In fact, it's definitely recommended that you don't put the baby in water, like don't submerge the baby in the water during this period. And the umbilical cord can stay on for about 14-15 days and then it will fall off. So for the first 14 or 15 days when you do baby bath time, I would suggest that you first of all prepare everything that you need for the bath. You would need water, lukewarm water, not too hot, not too cold, but as Goldilocks will say, just right. I personally am not a fan of those portable baby bathtubs. This, however, is your own choice. I would recommend a bowl of water and perhaps running some water into the basin in the bathroom in order to wash baby's hair. Other things you will need include cotton pads, your cleansing soap or lotion that you choose to use for your baby, your moisturizing lotion or cream that you choose to use for your baby, clean clothes, a towel, a fresh nappy. Nappy is the word us South Africans use for diaper. So a fresh or clean diaper. Then your bath time can begin. So the first thing you want to do is wash baby's hair. You will strip baby down to his or her nappy and then swaddle them in the towel. If you don't have the hooded towel, I suggest you keep a second towel handy to be able to dry baby's hair. So you swaddle them and off you go to the basin, or if you do have the bathtub, you just, how do I explain this? You are going to hold baby in one hand, neck supported by your hand, baby's body going down your arm. I'm actually doing this as I talk to you as if you can see me. But anyway, and then your arm tight against the side of your body. So that's with your weak arm, because you're going to do all the work with your strong arm. So obviously, if you're left-handed, baby's going to be held in your right hand. And if you're right-handed, baby's going to be held in your left hand. So you are going to put the baby over the basin or over the bath, supported by your hand, so the baby doesn't touch the basin or the bath. And with your strong hand, you are going to gently scoop up some water with the baby's hair. You're going to get some soap or shampoo that you choose to use, and you're going to squirt some on your hair, and you're going to give baby a nice little head massage. Talk to baby while this is happening. This is such a beautiful bonding time. You're going to do that, and you're going to wash the hair nice and clean. And then again, that same scooping water motion to rinse baby's hair until all the soap is gone. Give it a nice little dry, and then back to a flat surface like the bed. You then expose baby's body, still keeping the nappy on, because you don't want any squirts or sprays or accidents while you're doing this. You're going to take 2 cotton wool pads, dip it into the water, because the rest of their body at this point doesn't need soap. Soap contains sulfates, and that dries the skin out, and this is brand new skin. So water will suffice. They aren't really doing much physical activity and don't really need soap just yet. So I would suggest you don't use soap on their whole bodies, especially now that the umbilical cord is still attached as well. So you're just going to dip your cotton wool pads into the water and wipe baby down. Make sure you get into all the creases and all the folds. Lift the neck up and get into all those creases, the elbow creases, the knee creases, all the little rolls, and the in-between spaces. That's where you want to put most of your focus in getting baby clean. And then, of course, a lovely baby massage. As far as the umbilical cord is concerned, this, as you know, essentially was baby's feeding tube while in utero. That means where the navel is, it's open, it's still open, and it takes about 2 weeks to close, and then the umbilical cord detaches and falls off. So it's very important to care for this umbilical cord really, really well, really intentionally, to avoid any infections. You want to make sure that while the umbilical cord is still attached, baby is always dressed in loose fitting clothes so that there's not too much pressure on the umbilical cord. And also I suggest you get surgical spirits to clean around the umbilical cord. So you dip a Q-tip, which us South Africans called earbuds. You dip that into the surgical spirits and you just dab around. It serves 2 purposes. 1 is for sterilization, and 2, it catalyzes the drying up of the umbilical cord so that it falls off a little easier. Just make sure it's always covered and not exposed to too much dust or mold or anything like that to, as I said earlier, avoid infection. So that is the best way to care for the umbilical cord. And once that falls off, baby can go all the way into the water. So if you choose to use a baby bath, a portable baby bath, you can pop the baby into the water and follow the same steps. And as they get older, you can start introducing the soap to wash their bodies. And if you do not have the baby bath, the portable baby bath, putting a baby in a big bathtub is a very okay thing to do. You can have very little water in the bathtub, just enough to cover like half of their body if they're laying down horizontally with their heads flat on the bathtub base, and you can bath them that way. That just makes it easier. I actually have an episode coming up in the next few weeks about doing something twice, so having to transition from one thing to another. And I personally believe that it's not necessary to transition a baby from a baby bathtub into a big bathtub when they can be just fine in a big bathtub to begin with. But again, that's the parent's choice. Now that we know how to keep our babies clean, let's talk about feeding. There is such a huge debate about feeding babies. Breast milk is best. I prefer formula. I feed on demand. Well, I feed on a routine, or I feed on a schedule. there's so many things that people debate about. People tend to forget that different people have different value systems, different strokes for different folks. Is breast milk the best option for babies? Absolutely. But there are so many mamas who cannot breastfeed. So formula then is the next best thing, and that is okay too. I don't think that that is something that people should judge other moms on, nor is it something that should be a competition, and there is no right way to do that. Be easy on yourselves, mama. Be gentle with yourself. You do the best you know how to do, the best that you can do for your baby. When a baby is brand new, a routine generally doesn't work because they are still getting acclimatized to being out here in the real world. And so generally it's not recommended to get baby into a feeding routine until at least 3 months. So for the first 3 months, on-demand feeding tends to be the better option for a newborn baby. A newborn baby needs between 8 and 12 feeds a day between their sleeps. So it's a lot, it's a demanding task, and requires a lot of work and attention from the parent side. I'm not going to get too deep into the feeding. Just know, baby needs to eat, and milk is what they need to eat, and that's what's important. Whether it comes from the breast, whether it's breast milk pumped into a bottle, whether it's formula, that is circumstantial, and that is mom and dad, or mom or dad's decision and choice. Another important thing to remember right after feeding, all the way up until probably 6 months, a baby needs to be burped after feeding. This is something very important to remember to avoid cramps, to avoid gas build-up and colic in a baby. It's important to burp the baby afterwards. The easiest way to do that is to lift the baby up over your shoulder and rub their back in circular motions, up and down motions, until baby burps. Sometimes it comes out as a fart, but as long as there is a release, this is what you're looking for. This is what is healthy for the baby. And very often after a burp, especially in the younger months, baby will vomit, baby will spit up. So have a towel or a cloth over your shoulder to catch that. It's very normal. And unless it's really excessive, no medical attention is needed. It's very normal and natural for the baby to bring back up the milk that they have had to drink. Now, let's talk about the thing that you need the most, but you probably aren't going to get. That's sleep. It's not for you. We're going to talk about baby sleep pattern. So, from the time they are newborn to about 3 months, an average baby will need between 14 and 17 hours of sleep. From the time that they are 4 to 6 months, they'll need between 12 and 16 hours of sleep. In the first 3 months, a sleep schedule, just as a feeding schedule, is not recommended. As they acclimatize, they have zero concept of day and night. They just need to sleep, and so sleep will come in large amounts of time and very little cat naps. In the first 3 months, I would suggest that if a baby is sleeping for more than 4 hours, you do wake them up and give them a feed, and then they can go back to sleep, because there shouldn't be more than a 4-hour gap in feeding time for a newborn baby. I'm sure you've heard of SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. And the best way to avoid this is to never, ever lay a baby down on their bellies to sleep. You want to lay your baby on his or her back with their head facing up, so that there's nothing that can block them or stop them from breathing, nothing that can suffocate them. Even at this age, they don't need pillows or anything like that. If you are putting them to sleep with a blanket, swaddling is the best option for this. So just remember, anytime a baby is sleeping, it should be on their back. When they start rolling over later and turning and finding their own comfort spots, that's fine because they are a little more in control than they are as a newborn. So if you have a baby that's rolling over and tends to roll over in their sleep and is no longer on their back, you don't have to always move them back onto the back position. It is then okay for them to turn around. Just monitor them as much as you can. When they are young and at this age, you can start introducing a sleep time routine in the evenings, time that you spend with your baby, reading a book. It is never too early to start reading to your baby. So you can read a book and then have some cuddle time and then sing a song, whatever your routine is. And the routine will change as they get older and more interactive. But that kind of starts introducing a routine and them then knowing that sleep time is coming. That really helps a lot. Signs that a baby is not getting enough sleep: if they are overtired, there is excessive crying, excessive irritability, really, really short cat naps where you know that they aren't getting rest and they have trouble settling down and are just all round miserable. A good feed, a good cuddle, a good bath, a good massage are always good ideas to try and get them to settle down and calm down. Holding them, comforting them, soothing them is always a good idea to get them to calm down and then fall into a sleep pattern. If it does get excessive or lasts for longer than what you are comfortable with, I would definitely suggest calling their pediatrician to help with the how to settle them. Another important thing to remember is that oral hygiene starts now. They definitely don't have teeth that need to be brushed, but they do have mouths that need to be cleaned, gums that need to be cleaned. And so that starts as soon as they are born, as soon as they are drinking milk. This avoids that milky buildup on their tongues and on their gums, just keeping their mouths clean and healthy. A way you can do this is with a cotton pad. You wrap the cotton pad around your index finger, your Peter pointer, and you dip it in water, and with that just rub all over baby's mouth. Make sure you get the tongue almost in a scraping motion to get all the white residue from the milk out. Make sure that their gums gets cleaned and the inside of their cheeks. My grandmother actually used to do that for us when we were babies, and by us I mean my cousins and siblings. With glycerine, you do the same thing. Instead of dipping in water, you dip it in glycerine and you give the baby's mouth a good cleaning. And that should be done at least once a day at bath time, just making sure that you are keeping baby's mouth nice and clean and healthy. I come from a generation where we were told that holding a baby too much for too long is spoiling a baby. And that, I am here to tell you, is the biggest bunch of bull beep. Yes, I just beeped myself out. But really, that is the biggest bunch of nonsense anybody can tell you. There is no such thing as spoiling a baby. Babies need to be held. Babies need to be nurtured. They need to be cuddled. They need to be comforted. They need to be soothed. And there's no such thing as too much of it at all, at all, at all. So if you need to hold your baby even while baby's sleeping because they're restless, that is an okay thing to do, especially for the first couple of months when they don't yet know how to self-soothe. Talking to your baby is so important in this time as well. Making eye contact with them, letting them see you, letting them hear your voice. And also, it is so important to use all these different voices and different pitches and just talking to baby in all the silly tones. And that's because babies actually recognize tone before they understand language. So many people feel silly when you're doing that and you're speaking to baby in all these different tones, and it's not very comfortable for an adult, but it's a very, very important for a baby's development. In fact, when they are 5 months old, they already can detect negative and positive tones. This is where they learn where they are safe. This is where they learn where they are comforted, where they are being soothed. And even at this age, they start detecting humor. So when there's a tone that is not favorable to them, that's when they start feeling unsafe and anxious. And this is what we want to avoid. So speaking to them in different tones helps them with their language development. Using these different voice pitches actually triggers engagement. It builds focus and concentration for the baby. So go ahead, mommy. Use those voices. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Okay, so back to the serious things. We're getting serious now. No, we're not. But self-care, parents, mommies, daddies, self-care is very important in this time. Looking after a baby can be such a draining experience emotionally and mentally and physically. So it's really important that you make and you find time for you. Yes, baby's priority. Yes, their needs come first, but that doesn't mean your needs don't come at all. So taking a shower, brushing your teeth, yes, important, but also just having a minute or moment for yourself to breathe, to recalibrate, and then just find some peace before going back into the battlefield is very, very important. That brings me to the end of Oh Baby. I hope this was helpful for you new moms and dads. Next week, we are going to talk about W-sitting. And if you don't know what that is, don't Google it. Don't Google it. Just come back next week and I will tell you what that's all about. Have yourself a lovely week. Thank you for popping by. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you for tuning into the Parent Thing. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you have any questions, feedback, or content suggestions, please email us at Taryn@theparentthing.com. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and give my aunt a 5-star rating. Come back again.